combo of the day, a Team Daiwa Larry Nixon model with the original screw cap. They only made this about a year. This is about 1990 with an original Daiwa PS10. We're going to discuss this a little bit. You ready to run and gun? It's time for blast off. Let's go. Hey guys, Ty here with you. Welcome back to Bassin 101. See if I can get this old prime hat in the camera. It's kind of big. Old trucker hat. Multi-purpose rods. Now, that's an interesting topic. Something you never see discussed on YouTube. At least I don't. And I'm on YouTube all the time looking at stuff. Multi-purpose rods are basically either a spinning rod or a casting rod that can throw multiple lures or techniques. They're kind of hard to find. One word of advice is you want to find a rod that has some tip. That's going to help you a lot. I don't mean like a real light action kind of rod. I don't mean nothing like that. It could have, I guess the perfect combination is a rod that has a lot of backbone, but also has a lot of tip. And for a multi-purpose rod, I would absolutely stay away from extra fast rods. I would stick with standard fast actions. This rod right here is a standard fast action. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's got a nice tip on it. And I mean, I can't even bend that backbone. It's just got so much backbone in it. But it has a really nice tip, as I hope you can see in the camera. This is a 5.5 foot. Larry calls this the worm and jig rod. But I'll be honest with you guys, I've thrown crankbaits on this thing. I've thrown top waters on here, jerk baits. Lighter rig, Texas rig worms, lighter 1/8 ounce jigs. I've thrown a lot on this rod, including even the 1/2 ounce jigs, heavier 3/4 ounce spinner baits. I've thrown the heavy stuff on here too. This is a really good all-purpose rod. The rods that I have built for myself, the MHX from Mudhole, the MHX Elites, I choose very soft tip rods with a really good backbone. So I choose those so I can throw all different kinds of baits on one particular rod. I don't try to get just a Carolina rod, just a cranking rod, just this rod, just that rod. It's okay to have a cranking rod and things like that, but make sure that cranking rod can handle, if you're just wanting one cranking rod, make sure you get one that's going to handle the top waters you throw, the crankbaits you throw, maybe spinner baits if you prefer to throw those on cranking rods, any kind of spinners, jerk baits, anything that moves, maybe even lighter swim baits if you're into that kind of thing, the lighter glide baits and stuff like that. Be kind of picky about how you choose that stuff. And if you don't build your own rods, again, do the fishing line trick I told you about. Get you about 5 or 6 feet of line, put a snap on the end of it, leave it open, and you can hook it not to the guide. You don't want to damage the guide, but hook it to the frame of the rod and go to a store and just kind of pull on it. I mean, you can do the ceiling thing, you can do the floor thing, you can do, whatever you want to do. But just kind of pull on it, see how that feels. And it doesn't hurt to take a lure with you, preferably with maybe the hooks taped up or something like that. I would suggest doing that because that way they can't think you took it from the store. But I've done it. And tie it to the rod tip and just kind of flex it around, see how that lure feels on the tip of that rod. Don't just find a rod and go, yeah, that feels pretty good. Take it home, and before you know it, you go on the water with it. And it's like, I can't even throw this on here. Yeah, take stuff with you and tie it. Tie lighter lures, see how it feels. Tie heavier lures, see how it feels. Multi-purpose rods are not necessarily, I can throw a Texas rig, I can throw a Senko, I can throw this, I can throw that. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about multi-purpose. Because that's all solid plastics. Normally you're fishing the bottom, and just about the same type of rod can do some of those things. Now I'm going to have guys who are going to start thinking, no man, a Senko rod, you got to have this kind of tip, and a Texas rig has to have this kind of tip. I don't disagree with that. But in general, most people tend to throw soft plastics on the same kind of rod. But if you really want to narrow down your selection, see if that rod can also handle a crankbait or a topwater. You know, I know a lot of guys are diehard fiberglass people. I've got fiberglass rods too. Love them. A little heavy, but I love them. And you know, I tend to start throwing mine on graphite more than I do anything else because I don't horse fish in. I like to play a fish. So you know, if you're say fishing tournaments or something, you got to horse that fish in and get them in, then by all means use a softer action rod, fiberglass, maybe a medium light to a light action graphite, so you're not ripping the hooks from the fish. But me, I kind of like to play them. You know, you work to get that bite, so I don't want to sit there and take 10 seconds to get the fish in and, oh, wow, that's a nice fish. No, man, I want to fight them and feel them a little bit. I want to play with them. I want to feel them pull. So softer tip rods for me work with a lot of backbone. I do like spinning rods for a lot of stuff too, even crankbaits, and even with the spinner bait or the spinning rods I have, those are all also multi-purpose. You know, some of the rods I've got will do really good for. You could throw a plastic worm on one of them I've got and turn right around and put a crankbait or a topwater on the exact same outfit, and it does amazingly well. Same thing for the one that's a little step heavier action. Do the same thing. I throw crankbaits, worms, whatever I want to throw on that spinning rod, and all I do is just change the leader out. You know, if I need to get beefier, I go to a bigger leader or heavier leader or a lighter leader. Most of the time, I don't change the leader. I kind of use a universal leader on that rig that will allow me to throw different types of baits. I don't have to stick with just bottom bouncing baits or just crankbaits or whatever. I want to be able to switch lures and not change my equipment. So, you know, I know a lot of you guys have thousands of rods in your rod locker in your boat, and I did. Back when I was fishing tournaments, I've got 20 or 30 at one time. But that takes a lot of your time away from you because you're always doing maintenance on, you know, is this line still good, or is this line still good, or I got to put line on this reel, or, you know, carry spare reels here, and this, that, and the other. It gets time consuming. So I try to keep mine simple, and I would rather have multi-purpose rods than I would specifically technique-specific type deals. Like I said, it's okay to have a couple of them, because I actually do have a couple of them in my arsenal that are just particular, like a slider rod, cranking rod. But the slider rod is literally for sliders. But now as far as because I'm picky about that, but as far as the crankbaits, topwaters, and jerkbaits, stuff like that, I can throw them on the same rod blank. It doesn't bother me. Or I can turn around and throw them on a worm blank. Either way, I can adjust my style, my fishing style, to the rod I have in my hand. And then when I do hook that fish, I start feeling the bend of that rod, then I can start playing them. So I don't really latch myself onto one type of rod. But I just want to throw that out there to you guys, as I know a lot of you guys are, you know, it's getting ready, winter time's getting ready to come upon us, and a lot of guys start buying tackle, start buying rods and reels and stuff like that. You know, keep your eyes open to what's out there, see what you like to do, and if you prefer technique-specific equipment, great, go for it. I've got the stuff too. But personally, I'm getting to where I would rather have multi-purpose rods. So I only have just a few rods that will allow me to do whatever I want to do. But that's all I got today, guys. So until next time, may the Father bless you and keep you in Yeshua's name. And as always, fish on.